Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a very exciting figure because we've got the brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Hammond Collection Giganotosaurus, and this is one that I am super hyped for because even though a lot of people don't really like the Giga from Dominion, I'm actually a pretty big fan of it, so it's really nice to have a new version, a way superior version, I could see that already before even opening it, compared to the version that Mattel previously gave us. This is definitely going to cancel that one out completely. As far as the packaging goes, you can see an image on the left-hand side of the Giganotosaurus, the species name, a nice window area where you can see the Giganotosaurus over here on the side, another really nice shot of the figure up on the top, pretty much your standard when it comes to this type of packaging. Big Hammond Collection logo on the other side, and then here on the back a few more images of the figure, as well as down here showing off the upcoming Velociraptor Delta, Pyroraptor, Claire, and the Therizinosaurus, which is also out currently. So let's go ahead, pop this out of the box and check it out. So there we go, our Giganotosaurus is now fully assembled. Let me go ahead and get a nice positioning here for the feet. And there it is, and I must say the tail length on this is extremely impressive. Like, wow, I'm really blown away by how long the tail is on the Giga. So it's nice to see improvements all around for this figure. The feet are way nicer than what we've had previously. The tail length is really quite nice. The arms might be a little bit on the big side, but overall I think it looks super cool, and I would almost say maybe the best Hammond Collection figure that we've had so far. The Carnotaurus would be right there with the Giga, I think, but I'm not really too sure which one I would say is superior. Regardless, I'm really hyped to take a closer look at this, so let's jump to it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Giganotosaurus, you can see it does look really nice. The skin texture is fantastic on the figure, and one thing you'll notice right out of the gate is you can actually see the pupil on the eye. Now again, the glass eyes are not perfect. I think this looks a little bit better than what we've had in the past because I can actually see the pupil and stuff, but we'll have to wait until we see it from different angles because once you actually come up here, now the eye is gone. You can't see the pupil anymore, so it's still a little iffy, but I think it looks a little bit better than the eyes previously have. When it comes to the overall skull shape and everything for the Giga, I think it looks pretty much spot on. It definitely looks really good, and we've got tons of paintwork here for the face on this one. You've got some really nice greenish tones for the majority of the color of the Giganotosaurus, but then you also have like some greenish brown tones that have been dry brushed over quite a few different areas, as well as this dark gray that stripes in, and you can see it patterned down here onto the lower jaw and stuff, and it's all very nice and naturally applied overall. I think the paintwork looks really smooth and really realistic. We can also see the nostrils sculpted out right there, really nice creasing and wrinkling in the skin there in the eye socket area. Very vibrant scale detail. You can also see a little variation of color down here for the underside as you have like a yellowish green moving along the underside for the Giganotosaurus. The teeth look really good on this figure. You can see they all have a nice genuine sharp look. They're all sculpted individually, at least as far as the upper jaw goes. You can see both the upper and lower jaw articulate, so it can get a very nice wide open view of the mouth. Let's go ahead and try to maneuver this around without hitting something with the tail. You can see the skin stretching here on the inside of the mouth is a rubbery material, so it stretches kind of realistically. We've also got the tongue sculpted out in here quite beautifully. That features a really nice pinkish tone in there, and you can see the detail on the inside of the mouth on the upper side also looks really nice. All painted with that pinkish tone, all given a nice gloss coat. The tongue does articulate on the figure, which is a really nice touch, and then you can see the inside of the mouth on the lower jaw as well looks really good. The tongue can actually go pretty high and then all the way back down. And you've got the teeth here on the lower jaw. They look really good as well, again sporting that nice genuine sharp look. And what I really like about this, that I don't remember being on the T-Rex or anything, I could be wrong, but there's actually variation of color to the teeth. On top of the white tone that we have for the teeth, it seems like they've been hit with kind of like a brownish wash to sort of give them a bit of a dirty look. So that's like an element of realism that I haven't seen in the Hammond Collection previously. So I guess maybe they're really trying to make up for that blunder of a Giganotosaurus they released for Dominion. As you move back here into the neck, you start to pick up that very heavily armored appearance for the Giganotosaurus. Of course, you got like the scoots moving down from the center of the head up here and then again kind of turning into ridges as you move back into the neck. You can also see some of the variations of browns that have been dry brushed onto the figure, helping to highlight the detail quite nicely there in the back of the neck. Again, we continue to have the greenish tones as well as those dark grays as you continue to move down the course of the neck. We also have the lighter green tones here for the underside. You can also see kind of like a scoot-like appearance moving down the throat of the Giganotosaurus. You've got a spot of articulation. Let me go ahead and grab it right here. So you've got a spot right here, which can go left and right very nicely. Doesn't seem to go up and down at all really though. And then you've got another spot as you move down into the lower part of the neck that goes up and down pretty nicely. So that allows some, it also goes left and right as you can see. So that gives you some nice articulation in the head and neck area of the Giganotosaurus. As we continue to move down though, we continue to see again that very heavily armored look to the Giga moving along the upper side. You've got all of those scoots moving along. You've got the large ridges again, especially right here in this area, which is definitely a trademark of the Jurassic World Dominion style Giganotosaurus. And you can see again the variation of color. We have like a reddish brown that's been applied here in this area. You can see it highlighting some of the scoots moving along the course of the side of the dinosaur, but also up here in the top. And look at the detailing in that area. That is really, really impressive fine detail. There's like a lot going on. So Mattel really went and gave it their all, I would say, for this Giganotosaurus. As you move down into the side, you continue to see that patterning leading down, but you can also see that we have the brownish dry brushing down here over top of the green. So again, continuing to really highlight the detail on this figure, making it look so insanely nice. As you move here into the arm, you can see we have more of that greenish tone running along the front of the arm. And when I say the greenish tone, I mean the light green of the underbelly. Pretty smooth transition back, but I'm not super huge on that area being there. But as you move down, you can see the scale detail continues to look really, really good. You've got quite a few areas of articulation. Of course, you have the ability to articulate in the shoulder, forward and back, and out away from the body as well, which is pretty standard for many Mattel figures. You've also got elbow articulation. Let's see where it is right there. So you can go up and down in the elbow, and it can also swivel, which allows you even more posability. And you have wrist articulation, which again can go forward and back and also swivel. So that means you can keep the wrists placed correctly, which is really nice. And then as you move down into the lower part of the stomach, you can see a few wrinkles there in the skin. You can also see, again, kind of like very crocodilian skin texture for this Giganotosaurus, which I think looks pretty cool. Again, really smooth transition to that lighter green underbelly for the figure. Super nice looking detail throughout the entire figure, honestly. Moving back here into the hip region, we continue to again have that very armored look to the top of the Giganotosaurus. You have more of that darker tone patterning down here into the side. You can see it basically running all through the course of the thigh of the Giganotosaurus. You have much larger scales moving down the front of the thigh, almost a little bit of an armored look in that area. As you lead down, you of course can see the knee right there. You can see a nice big bulging calf muscle. The skin texture continues to look nice. Again, larger scale detail moving down the front of the shin, and then you move down into the foot, and you can see the foot looks really good. You've got some nice scoots running down the toes right there. Again, the nails painted with a nice glossy dark gray, and we do have dew claws, and yes, they are painted. So talk about a miracle right there. I never in a million years expected to see that. But as far as the articulation in the legs go, you can go forward and back pretty smoothly. You can also move the knee forward and back, and it can also swivel. And then as you move down, you've got two areas of articulation down here, one of which is really stiff. There we go. So you can go forward and back right there, also swivel. And then you've got another spot right here, which allows you to articulate the foot, and that can also swivel, which you can see right there. So lots of beautiful articulation moving down through the course of the foot and leg. We will get a little bit of a wider visual of this articulation here in just a bit. But as we move back here, you continue to see that mixture of the dark grays, the browns, the greens, all meshing together really nicely. Again, amping up the detail and realism of the paint job of this figure very nicely. As we lead out, we've got our first area of articulation for the tail, which you can see right here, a very obvious joint, and that causes the tail to go left and right, up and down. Really nice, very smooth. Can also swivel if I don't lose hold of it, which you can see right there. Again, we have more of that reddish brown highlighting some of the scoots as you move out here toward the tail. You continue to have the ridges up here on the top, but they start to decrease in size. There is a pretty obvious seam right there, which I'm not sure why, but it is there, and it's something to take note of. But then as you move out here, you've got another area here of articulation as you lead out, where you can swivel it and move it all over the place like you usually can. And this is the area where we begin the rubber reel feel section of the Giga, because that's how the rest of the tail is moving out, because it is a wire tail, so you can bend it and articulate it pretty much any way you would like from that point forward. And you can see at this point we basically just have the green, like the primary green of the Giga, as well as the dark gray moving out, and you can see it continues to pattern the rest of the way out here. As you lead out toward the tip, then it disappears, and you have this last little area here of the tip of the tail without any coloration. That light green of the underbelly does run through the course of the figure, but does end here in that first section of the articulated tail. But you can see it is pretty abundant through the rest of the figure. And man, does this thing ever look absolutely gorgeous. And then if you turn it around and take a look at the opposing side, of course, you're going to see pretty much the same thing over here. No real differences. Yet again, you can see how that eye does look half decent. You know, it definitely looks a little better than the previous ones. But like I said, as soon as you move to a different weird position, the pupil kind of disappears. But you can see it right there from the side, which is nice, but I would definitely prefer that they work on those glass eyes. But as you move back, again, everything's going to look pretty much the same. The elbow is in a very awkward position currently. Oh man, now the wrist is upside down. There, it looks a little bit better now. But as you move through again, it's got the same paintwork with the dry brushing techniques and stuff. The extremely nice sculpt and detail, beautiful overall paintwork for the figure with the additions of the dry brushing and everything, and tons of articulation. Definitely one of, if not the absolute best Hammond collection figures we've ever had. Again, when it comes to the articulation, as I said, you can move that head and neck around really nicely. You can get some very nice turns. The head can actually go down pretty far, go up pretty decently. Very nice, very smooth articulation overall on the Giganotosaurus, which is definitely a plus. And then, of course, you have the arm articulation, forward and back, out away from the body. The elbow, forward and back, can swivel. And then the wrist also can swivel. Then when we get to the legs, you again can go forward and back with the hip, also out away from the body a little ways. You can see it kind of wiggling right there. You've got the knee, forward and back, can also swivel. And then down here, you've got another spot right here. So you can go forward and back right here as well. And again, can swivel. And then you've got the foot right here, which allows you to have really nice posability as far as like posing it in walking positions, and again can swivel. And then as you lead out, you've got the tail right here, which can go all over the place, up, down, left, right, swivel. Same deal for this area. And then again, the bendable wire tail to articulate it further if you would like to. As far as a size goes for our Giganotosaurus, lengthwise, it's going to be a doozy. So from the snout to the tail, I would say about 29 inches or around 74 centimeters. So it is huge when it comes to the length. It is crouched a little currently, so we'll try to straighten the legs out and get a higher position for it in a more natural position overall. Highest point would be the back. So you are looking at about 10.5 inches or around 26.5 centimeters, and then to the back of the neck about 10.25 inches or 26 centimeters. So definitely quite sizable, and for a size comparison to show you that, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Mattel Hammond Collection Giganotosaurus. I have it in kind of a little bit of an awkward position to try to get this comparison and have most of the body in screen, but you can see all of these figures are so tiny in comparison to this Giga. The Giga is just gigantic overall. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus stepping in here for yet another comparison. And if you happen to have acquired the newest T-Rex, the all-out Attack T-Rex, here's a comparison with the Giga next to that. Now, if I pull the camera off and go up above, you can see that the Giganotosaurus is gigantic next to this T-Rex. The T-Rex is kind of close in size, but the Giga is definitely a good bit larger. And then we have a little bit of an awkward comparison because I have the older Giga here still in box. It's one that I purchased on clearance at, I forget where, maybe Target. And you can see that the Hammond Collection version is definitely a whole lot bigger than the older one. It's much bigger when it comes to overall body mass, height, length. Every aspect of this newest Hammond Collection version just completely crushes the previously released Strike and Roar version. And even though I highly doubt it's a comparison that many people really want to see, here is the Sound Surge version of the Giganotosaurus next to the Hammond Collection version. Again, way smaller. We also have a Hammond Collection Velociraptor, which is clearly, again, much smaller. The Hammond Collection Carnotaurus, which, again, really not much in the way of a comparison between these two. The Giga is still massive. And then the comparison that I think many people are probably waiting for, we have the Hammond Collection T-Rex. This is a customized, repainted version, because I don't have any out currently that are original outside of this custom version. But if you go up above, you can see they are fairly similar in size. Overall, like, they're not too far off from each other, but the Giga is definitely a bit larger. It's overall bulkier. You can see back there it's definitely taller. It is longer, actually quite significantly, compared to the T-Rex. It doesn't really look like it from this angle. It's really hard to get a good visual to show it to you. So if we go up above and we have the two basically in the same spot as far as their snout goes, you can see where the T-Rex tail ends and the Giganotosaurus tail continues. So it is definitely a good bit longer, making the Giga the largest theropod Hammond Collection figure we've had so far. Again, you can definitely see how it's a good bit taller. It's also, I would say, just bulkier when it comes to the body mass as well. We will give you one more comparison with the two kind of face to face. And there you go, you can see that the Giga is definitely larger. Like, if you look at the size of the body of the T-Rex compared to the size of the body of the Giga, there's definitely a very significant and obvious increase in size on our Giganotosaurus over the T-Rex. And again, lengthwise, the Giga wins. Height, the Giga wins. Overall body mass, the Giga wins. So definitely one of the biggest Hammond Collection figures we've had so far. Of course, outside of, like, the Brachiosaurus. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Hammond Collection Giganotosaurus is absolutely awesome. I am, like I said, a pretty darn big fan of the Jurassic World Dominion style Giganotosaurus, so I've really wanted to get a better version from Mattel at some point in the future, and thankfully they finally have given us not just a better version, but I would say the definitive Mattel version. This thing is an amazing figure all around, a major improvement over any previously released Hammond Collection figure of this style next to the Carnotaurus, but even some areas of this are an improvement over the Carnotaurus, like the teeth. The teeth are so nice on this figure, and even though the teeth on the Carnotaurus were pretty darn nice, I feel like the teeth on this look excellent. They're so much sharper looking, and they've added in variation of color to the teeth, like adding in the off-white that they use as well as a brown wash was just a really nice touch on the part of Mattel. I also love the fact that they've added in a good bit of variation of color. You know, they could have just added the green tone and then the dark gray tone and then the lighter green on the underside and called it a day, but they didn't. They added a nice dry brushing with actually like different variations, it seems, of brown. Some areas have more of like a brown sort of a look. Some areas have almost like a reddish brown, so it kind of looks like they've added in a little variation of color as far as that goes, and I think that was just a really nice touch to add another level of realism to the figure as a whole, which is a really good thing. The sculpt is extremely highly detailed, definitely far and away the best Giganotosaurus sculpt from Mattel up until this point. I would say it pretty much looks spot on to the way it appears in the film. The only thing that I noticed that isn't present on this Giga that was present on the one in the film is the tear in the gums. And although it kind of looks like it's sculpted in, it's not as obvious, I think, as it should be. But there are scars sculpted through the course of the face and everything of the Giga, which is really cool. Definitely nice to see those minor additions to the sculpt and everything, but the tear in the gums would have definitely been a really nice touch overall, because again, it is something you see on the version in the film. Like I said, you can kind of see like it's almost sculpted out in there, but it's not painted or anything. It's not sculpted out as obviously as it was for the version in the film. But on top of the incredible sculpt and incredible paint, you have tons and tons of articulation. It may be one of the best articulated figures from the Hammond collection overall as well. So if you want one of these to add to your collection, the best bet would be to either head to Target, because I believe the official release date is tomorrow, or order on Target once it goes back up into stock. Currently it's not, because the pre-orders have sold out, but it's supposed to launch tomorrow, so it should be back in stock tomorrow. So I will include a link in the description, of course, to where you can grab it from there, but otherwise make sure you should definitely pick up this Giga because it is amazing. And like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.